Now the coverage of ex-FBI Director James Comey's testimony on Capitol Hill.
Federal prosecutor Vikas Bajaj is here. Vic, good morning, and thanks for chatting with us.
Oh, absolutely, and not prosecutor, defense attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Okay.
No worries.
Let's talk a little bit about what you saw today.
Yes.
Did anything surprise you?
Well, one thing that completely floored me was the former director of the FBI going on record and saying that the president of the United States of America is a liar. The implication when he described why it is he decided to take this novel approach in recording all of his contacts with this very important individual, which he had never done before, and he writes that. He had never taken notes like this before, but one of the characteristics he took into account when deciding whether to do this was the characterization that he had in his mind of President Trump, and that is, I felt this individual would have an ability to lie, and I wanted to make sure that didn't happen. That absolutely floored me, and I think it floored a lot of people, the citizenry watching that, no matter which side of the aisle you're standing on.
But the question that I had is, now as we move into this closed session, we were just mentioning how we'd love to be a fly on the wall inside. When Comey was asked if he believed President Trump colluded with Russia, he answered, which we heard this a lot, "This is not a question I don't think I should answer in an open setting." What does that mean to you as an attorney, as a defense attorney, to hear that?
Well, I think, number one, we're disappointed. But as an attorney, the reason why that's so important is because if there were an important concluded investigation, then former Director Comey would be able to come on board and tell us what happened. And that's the distinction he drew between the Clinton email investigation and the Trump campaign potential collusion with the Russians. So one is completed, one is not. But the reason why this is a closed session is these are very, very important factual revelations that will be made, such as Agent so-and-so talked with Agent so-and-so, and this is what we found by this potential actor against the United States. Now, I would have hoped that we would have had some more information, or at least a real big fire with the smoke that's been pulled so far, but we don't know what will be discussed other than to say it's crucial intelligence information.
You talk about information, Vic. There was also some discussion about those tapes. Raul was mentioning earlier that he said, Lordy, I hope there are tapes of that. What did you take of that? That Comey was basically saying, I hope there are tapes and I hope they come out. I hope they're released.
Well, that's what he has to say. In other words, if you're in his position, they're testifying before the congressional hearing and ask the question, well, you have to sort of preempt that and say, well, I hope there are recordings. Now, if there are recordings, I guess we can bet our bottom dollar that you and I will never hear the content of those, and the citizenry won't either. Those are very confidential recordings if they exist. But that's a position that Mr. Comey had to take. In other words, he could not be defensive in that position and say, well, I hope there aren't tapes. He has to say, I hope they're there, because they'd corroborate what I have to say, whether or not they will be disclosed.
I don't know if anything could be more interesting than what we just witnessed, but the rest of today and the analysis from both sides will be fascinating, to say the least. Vikas Bajaj, we thank you again for your expertise.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, 9:52, Fox 5 Morning News. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.